And now joining us live to discuss oil prices and its effect from the South Bars is Rod D. Martin. He's founder and CEO of Martin Capital. Rod, I'd love to get your initial reaction to that interplay between Netanyahu, Trump, and that threat.
Well, it is a threat, and I doubt it was entirely uncoordinated. We've seen them good cop, bad cop this again and again, and you'll notice one of the last things you said there was, that if Qatar is attacked again, there's going to be massive retaliation against the gas field. Well, that is very similar to what we saw when the Israelis took out the Hamas leadership in Qatar a few months ago. And the reaction to that was, oh, the Americans had nothing to do with that. And now we're basically going to make Qatar a protectorate. Well, we just doubled down on that. Why does this matter? First of all, because Qatar is the biggest LNG producer in the region. It's really a big deal for European prices in particular, not to mention supply, but also Qatar has been a less than entirely faithful ally. They have been playing all sides against the middle for a very long time, and if anything, they've leaned toward Iran. So getting them on side is helpful, particularly when our biggest base in the region sits right there in country.
Understood. So even though we have normalized relations and they're certainly part of the Board of Peace, historically, Hamas has been able to kind of go in and out and maybe even some potentially, as you say, playing all sides. Are there any other signals you've seen in the past or examples you could give where Qatar has maybe, as you said, played a bit of both sides?
Oh my goodness, the list is nearly endless. They are much more pro-Iranian than they are pro-Western by disposition, just not by business interests. This is a country of about 800,000 people that produces more oil or gas than most countries on the planet could even dream of, and they sell it to the West. They do host that major U.S. base. That's also a source of income. There are a lot of benefits to them from being with us. The biggest benefit they have had in recent years has been sort of pretending to be a neutral mediator, being the people that everybody can talk to, and that's fine so far as it goes. For instance, we've talked about the current hostilities between Afghanistan and Pakistan. They, along with the Turks, helped to negotiate the ceasefire back in October that obviously hasn't lasted, but it was good for a little while. And that's a positive role for them. But in reality, if we don't keep them hedged in, they go off the reservation. And we really have a problem with them that Donald Trump is solving.
Yeah, and as I understand it, the Hamas leadership before October 7th and even after October 7th had quite lavish lifestyles, while the people in Gaza were, struggling significantly. So it's a really interesting point that you allude to. Rod, I do want to try to bring this back to how oil prices are going to be affected. Some allies, including the UK and Japan, they're jumping in now to help with the Strait of Hormuz. Do you think this news would help stabilize oil prices?
It will. It won't overnight. I think we'll see some positive movement, but I wouldn't hold my breath. This morning, Brent crude is at 109, West Texas Intermediates in the mid 90s. These aren't great prices, but they're actually really good prices considering what's going on. And part of the reason, of course, is the 400 million barrels being released from various countries' strategic reserves. Some of this is the insurance facility that the Trump administration's Development Finance Corporation has announced to pick up the slack for Lloyd's of London and others in the city. I have a big article out on that this morning at rodmartin.org. And, part of it is just the realization that this war isn't going to go on a lot longer. Ballistic missile strikes are down 90% for a reason. They're running out. They don't have the factories that produce them anymore. Here's another one for you. They don't have the factories that produce the mines for the Strait of Hormuz anymore. So every mine that gets swept is a mine that can't be replaced. And The allies who actually depend on this oil, we don't, they do, really messed up this week by showing that Donald Trump was correct when he said, we'll be there for them. I don't know if they'll be there for us. Well, it turns out that without arm twisting, they aren't. Even Estonia, which is specialized in minesweeping, sent forces, or is in the process of sending forces, to help America before Britain and Germany. But anyway, they will get there. It will matter. But first, we're going to finish taking out Iran's ability to be able to remine the strait in the event that we start sweeping.
And Rod, as we start to finish up, I want to go to your thoughts on and reactions to a variety of interesting comments coming out of Secretary Bessent. He said that they're tracking movements of money attempted by RGC members to try to get their funds offshore, and that they're intending to track and repatriate that money. And then he had also made comments just about oil that's already on the way out from Iran, using that oil against them. Can you give a little context into Bessent's comments?
Well, you will recall that for some months now, we have been interdicting the shadow fleet oil tankers, first around Venezuela. Then we started chasing them as far as the North Atlantic and the Indian Ocean. Then the Indians started helping us, then the Belgians, then the Swedes. We've actually got a pretty good effort here. Well, what does that mean? It means in part that those tankers, the ones that we haven't captured, become uninsurable. But as for the tankers that we capture, all of that oil is available for us to resell. It's all sanctioned oil. It's all forfeit the minute we seize it. And so that actually does help the picture too. And the bottom line is, when this war is over, and I think that will be quickly, you have a tremendous drop in the oil price just from that. Assuming Iran is fully defeated, you have a reduction in the oil price based on the elimination of the risk premium that's existed for 40 years based on Iran's threats to close the strait. So we actually drop back below where we were before the war. And if Iran comes online as a free, democratic major producer without sanctions, it's going to change the energy markets for the whole world.
Wow, something to hopefully look forward to. Could be, just if we get to the other side of it, a lot of good things could be happening. Really appreciate all your insights and breaking down what it might take to get there. Rod D. Martin, nice to see you.
Nice to see you.